Imagine your financial life is a World Cup match. The stadium is full, the scoreboard is up, and the question no one has asked you yet is, what is your internal scoreboard showing? Not your bank balance, not your salary, not what you have or do not have right now, but the score you keep in your own mind about what you deserve, what you are capable of, and what is possible for you. Because that invisible scoreboard is what determines absolutely everything in your financial game. And most people have never stopped to look at it. If you have already watched our previous videos, you know that consciousness creates reality, that habits shape prosperity, that inherited beliefs define financial ceilings, that the universe tests alignment, that detachment opens the field for abundance to flow, and that the words you use about money are constantly programming your reality. Today, we explore all of this through the most powerful and most current lens that exists right now, the World Cup. Because the greatest football champions discovered about mindset, pressure, resilience, and performance exactly what the greatest builders of prosperity also discovered. And that connection is going to change the way you see your financial game forever. Before we continue, one thing matters. Stay until the end of this video, because we have prepared a special exercise for you, the Quantum Scoreboard Reset, a simple and powerful practice that will help you honestly see the score of your financial game and take the first concrete step to change it today. And if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, do it now and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Every person here is part of this team. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments, do you prefer watching football or playing it? I want to know the team that is here with me on this journey. You are about to discover that the game of your prosperity is not over yet, and that the score can still change. There is a scoreboard that no one sees, but that determines absolutely everything in your financial life. It is not the balance in your bank account. It is not your salary. It is not even your accumulated assets. It is the score you keep internally about what you believe you deserve, what you believe is possible, and what you believe you are capable of achieving. That invisible scoreboard operates silently in every decision you make, in every opportunity you accept or refuse, in every moment you advance or retreat in the face of something greater. And most impressively, most people have never stopped to look at that scoreboard. During the World Cup, the greatest football analysts on the planet observe not just the score of the game, but the psychological scoreboard of each player. How they react after missing a pass, how they position themselves after conceding a goal, whether they keep their head up or shrink. Because they know that the mental scoreboard of a player determines their performance long before any result appears on the official display. The same principle applies to your financial life with a precision that is striking. You can have all the right strategies, all the necessary information, and still lose the game if your internal scoreboard is showing defeat. What makes this scoreboard so powerful is that it was established long before you had any awareness of it. Every difficult financial experience you lived through added a negative point. Every time someone said money was hard, that prosperity was not for you, that your dreams were too big, the internal scoreboard registered it. And now it operates like an invisible referee who calls a foul before you even try to score. But referees can be wrong. Scores can be changed. And the first step to changing any score is to honestly look at what it is showing right now. And what you will discover when you look at that scoreboard is exactly what champions learned to do that most people never learn. There is a characteristic that separates game-changing players from players who merely participate, and it has very little to do with technical skill. It is the ability to play for the score that does not yet exist, to act, move, and decide not based on what the scoreboard is showing now, but based on the result that is still being built. When Brazil lost 3-0 against Germany in 2014, most players stopped playing for the mental score long before the referee blew the final whistle. But champions, those who come back, who turn games, who score in extra time, are exactly those who keep the internal scoreboard unchanged regardless of what the official display is showing. In financial life, this pattern repeats with impressive frequency. Most people play by the current score. If the account is in the red, they make decisions like someone in the red. If the month is difficult, they act as if all the following months will also be difficult. If an investment did not give the expected return, they stop investing. They are constantly looking at the scoreboard of the past and using that number to decide how to play the present. And it is exactly that posture that guarantees the score never changes, because you cannot score a goal if you stopped playing. The champions of prosperity, just like the World Cup champions, learn to separate the current score from the vision of the final result. They acknowledge present reality without merging with it. They know that 0-1 in the first half does not mean defeat. It means there is still time, still strategy, and a real possibility of turning it around. Joe Dispenza describes this ability in Becoming Supernatural as living in the state of the desired outcome before it exists, not as denial of reality, but as conscious positioning for the next move. Hit the like button if you have ever felt like you were losing the financial game, but something inside you refused to accept that score as final. And what determines whether you will keep playing or stop has everything to do with something most people never realize they are doing. There is a distinction that any high-level football coach knows well, and that very few people consciously apply to their finances. It is the difference between a team that takes the field to not lose and a team that takes the field to win. Technically, both teams are playing the same game with the same rules on the same field. But the energy, positioning, decisions, and final result are completely different. The team that plays to not lose retreats, protects, avoids risk, and spends the entire game on the defensive. The team that plays to win advances, creates, takes positions, and actively seeks the goal. And curiously, most of the time the defensive team ends up losing anyway, just losing without having tried. In finances, playing to not lose manifests in very specific and very common ways. It is the person who saves money not because they are building something, but because they are afraid of running out. It is the person who refuses growth opportunities because the risk seems too great. It is the person who works to pay bills, not to build prosperity. It is the person who never invests in themselves because that would mean spending what they have. All of this posture comes from the same place. The fear of losing what already exists is greater than the desire to conquer what does not yet exist. And that fear, as understandable as it is exactly what keeps the score low. Playing to win financially does not mean being irresponsible or ignoring risks. It means making decisions oriented by the vision of what you are building, not by the fear of what you might lose. It means investing in knowledge, in tools, in relationships that expand your possibilities. It means charging what you are worth, even when fear suggests you charge less. It means saying yes to aligned opportunities, even when the account is not at the level you would like. Share this video with someone you feel is playing financial defense, because sometimes the greatest turnaround begins when someone shows us there is another way to play. And to shift from one posture to the other, there is a specific moment in the game that most people completely underuse. In every World Cup match, there is a moment that casual spectators often underestimate, but that coaches consider the most strategic of all. It is halftime, the 15 minutes between the first and second half, where everything can be reassessed, repositioned, and reinvented. Teams that were losing have come back as champions after a well-used halftime. Players who were blocked found clarity in those 15 minutes. Entire strategies were rewritten and successfully executed in the second half. Halftime is not a pause in the game. It is a fundamental part of the game. And in financial life, most people never stop for halftime. The financial equivalent of halftime is the moment of conscious pause, when you stop reacting to the game and start observing it. It can be a week of vacation that gives you perspective on your career. It can be a morning of silence where you finally see a pattern that has been repeating for years. It can be an honest conversation with someone you trust who shows you what you were not seeing from inside the field. These moments of conscious pause are where the greatest financial turnarounds begin, not in frantic rushes, not in decisions made under pressure, but in the halftimes where the mind can finally see the complete field. If you are subscribed to the channel, activate the bell now, because every video here is a strategic halftime in the game of your prosperity. And when you learn to use halftime, you begin to understand something about the moments of greatest pressure in the game that completely changes how you face them. There is a moment in football that concentrates all of human psychology in a fraction of a second. It is the penalty kick. One player, one ball, one goalkeeper, and the 11 meters that separate failure from success. The technical ability to kick a ball has already been consolidated through years of training. What determines whether the goal goes in or not is almost exclusively the internal state of the kicker in the seconds before the shot. Research shows that players who look at where they want to shoot before running toward the ball have a significantly higher conversion rate than those who look at the goalkeeper. In other words, focusing on the goal instead of the obstacle is what determines the result. In financial life, penalties appear frequently. They are the moments of decision under pressure, when you need to decide whether to accept that proposal, make that investment, charge that value, take that calculated risk. And just as in football, what determines the result is not the technical skill itself, but the internal state at the moment of decision. A person in a state of fear makes the same decision in a completely different way than a person in a state of confidence. Not because the circumstances are different, but because the internal state filters the possibilities the mind can see. Fear sees the goalkeeper. Confidence sees the goal. Write in the comments, what is your biggest financial penalty right now? That decision you know you need to make, but have not made yet? And when you learn to make important decisions from a regulated state, you begin to understand why true champions are not those who never lose, but those who know exactly what to do after losing. One of the most counterintuitive truths in high-level football is that every World Cup champion team lost matches along the way. Germany lost, Brazil lost, Argentina lost, France lost. No team reached the final without having faced moments of difficulty, defeat, or near elimination. What separated them from the teams that were eliminated was not the absence of defeats. It was what they did with the defeats, how they processed, how they adjusted, how they used each negative result as information instead of a sentence. And that ability to lose a game without losing the championship is exactly what separates those who build real wealth from those who quit at the first financial setback. Most people treat every financial defeat as elimination. An investment that did not work out becomes proof that investing does not work. A business that closed becomes proof that entrepreneurship is not for them. A debt becomes proof that prosperity is out of reach. Every negative result is interpreted as elimination from the championship, when in reality it is just the result of one game. And championships are not decided by isolated games. They are decided by consistency, adaptation, and the ability to keep playing with the same intensity regardless of the previous score. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because every video here is a game in the championship of your conscious prosperity. And to play this long championship well, there is a factor that most people completely underestimate, and that the World Cup illustrates better than any other event on the planet. There is a phenomenon that anyone who has ever been to a World Cup stadium knows viscerally, and that sports science has confirmed through decades of research. The crowd changes the game, not metaphorically, literally. Teams playing at home with their own crowd have a significantly higher win rate than when they play away. Players report that the energy of the crowd elevates them to performances that would be impossible in the silence of training. And teams playing in hostile stadiums, with opposing crowds creating constant pressure, frequently make more mistakes, make worse decisions, and perform below their real potential. The crowd around a player is as important as the talent within them. In your financial life, you have a crowd. It can be a crowd that vibrates with your every advance, that believes in your potential, that celebrates your achievements and sustains you in difficult moments. Or it can be a crowd that questions every decision, that remembers your failures more than your victories, that treats your dreams with skepticism disguised as concern. The people around you create an energetic field that constantly influences your decisions, your self-confidence, and your prosperity frequency, even when you do not consciously notice. And just as a player who performs poorly in hostile stadiums is not less talented, a person who does not perform financially in negative environments is not less capable. The solution is not to eliminate all negative crowd from your life at once. That is rarely possible and frequently creates more conflict than clarity. The solution is to consciously build an internal crowd that is stronger than any external pressure. Reading books by people who built what you want to build. Listening to stories of those who turn the score around. Surrounding yourself with content, communities, and conversations that amplify instead of contract. Jim Rohn said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But before changing the 5 people, you can change the content you consume, the stories you hear, and the internal narrative you maintain. Share this video with someone from your crowd, someone you know will resonate with this message as much as you do. And when you begin to build this internal crowd, you discover that the invisible work no one sees is exactly what produces the results everyone wants to see. There is an illusion that the casual football spectator carries, that what happens on the field during the 90 minutes of the World Cup is where the game is decided. But any high-level athlete knows the game is decided long before. It is decided in the 6 in the morning training sessions, when no one is watching, in the physical recovery sessions that no one films, in the tactical analysis videos watched for hours without an audience, in the mental and emotional work done with sports psychologists away from the spotlight. What the world sees during 90 minutes is just the visible expression of invisible work that lasted years. And this principle applies to prosperity with a precision that very few people consider. Social media culture has created a dangerous distortion in the perception of prosperity. People see the result, the successful business, the investment that worked out, the abundant financial life, without seeing the invisible training that produced that result, the daily consciousness practices that no one posts, the hours of financial study that generate no likes, the moments of meditation and internal alignment that do not appear in stories, the consistent discipline of reviewing limiting beliefs, the constant work of reprogramming financial language. All of this is the invisible training, and it is exactly that training that determines whether you will be prepared when the opportunity appears on the field. If this video is your invisible training today, hit the like button now, because every like is a goal scored on the scoreboard of your prosperity, and all that invisible training serves a single purpose: to prepare you for the moment when the score is against you and you need to turn the game around. There is a specific moment in every World Cup match that separates the teams that turn games from all the others, and it is not the moment of the goal. It is the moment immediately before the goal, the moment when the losing team could retreat, could accept the result, could start playing just to minimize the damage, but instead chooses something different, chooses to believe the score can still change. That choice, which lasts only a fraction of a second in the mind of each player, is what opens the field for the turnaround to happen. Without it, no turnaround is possible. With it, any score can be reversed. In financial life, turning the score around starts exactly the same way, with an internal choice before any external action. The choice not to accept the current situation as definitive, to treat the difficult moment as information about what needs to change, not as proof that change is impossible. This does not mean denying reality. It means refusing to let current reality define future reality. And that refusal, when genuine and consistent, begins to reorganize the decisions, actions, and opportunities that appear on the field. Because the field responds to the internal state of the player. It always has, and it always will. The concrete strategies for turning the financial score around follow a sequence that great football coaches would immediately recognize. First, honest diagnosis of the current score, without drama and without denial. Second, identification of what needs to change in strategy, not just in willpower. Third, one small and concrete move in the right direction today, because turnarounds do not begin with grand gestures. They begin with the first step taken in the right direction, while the score is still unfavorable. Write in the comments right now, "I score my goal." Declare your turnaround, because words spoken in public have the power to make change real. And when you turn the internal score around, something inevitable begins to happen on the external score. And it is exactly that which the final whistle will reveal. There is a moment in football that carries a different emotion from any other. The final whistle. For some it is the sound of defeat. For others it is the sound of conquest. But for those who deeply understand the game, the final whistle is always the same sound regardless of the result. It is the sound of the closing of one cycle and the beginning of another. Because in football, as in life, the game never truly ends. There is always another match, another season, another championship. And what you do with what you learned in the game that just ended completely determines how you will play the next one. In your financial life, the final whistle sounds at specific moments. When a job ends, when a business closes, when a financial cycle exhausts itself, when one phase of life gives way to another. These moments are frequently experienced as defeats, but those who build real prosperity have learned to hear them differently, not as the sound of the end, but as the sound of the conclusion of one chapter and the opening of the next. With everything that was learned, with all the adjustments made, with an internal scoreboard more calibrated than it was before the game began. Because every financial cycle, no matter how difficult, leaves a player more prepared for the next one. The World Cup of your financial life is being played right now, not in the future, not when conditions are perfect, not when the score is more favorable. Now, and every conscious decision you make today, every time you choose to play to win instead of playing to not lose, every time you use halftime to recalibrate, every time you train the invisible that will produce the visible, is a goal scored on the scoreboard of your future prosperity. And if you made it this far, you are already playing at another level. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that the game is not over yet, and that the score can still change, because sometimes the greatest turnaround begins when someone believes in you before you believe in yourself. Before we close, there is one thing left to do, and it is the most important part of this entire video. Everything you heard today was preparation for this moment. So if you can, find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and give yourself the next few minutes. Not for relaxation, not for meditation, but for your game. The first thing you are going to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen. You are going to draw a simple football scoreboard, 2 squares, like the ones that appear in stadiums. On the left side, write current score and honestly put the number that represents where you are financially right now, not in dollars or any currency, but as a score from 0 to 10. 0 being completely misaligned with the prosperity you want, 10 being completely aligned. Be honest. There is no right or wrong score. there is only the real score. On the right side of the scoreboard, write final score and put the number that represents where you want to be. Now, look at the difference between the two numbers. That difference is not a judgment. It is your playing field. It is the space where the next chapter of your prosperity is going to be built. Right below the scoreboard, one single sentence. I choose to play to reach this score, and the game starts now. Read it out loud, with intention, and then take one action, any small and concrete action. That is a move in the direction of the final score, because champions do not wait for perfect conditions to start playing. They play with what they have where they are now. You made it to the end, and that already says something about the kind of player you are. The person who accepts the score as definitive does not make it to the end of a video like this. You made it because something in you already knows the game is not over, that the final whistle has not sounded yet, that the score you see today is not the score that will appear when this phase of your life comes to an end, and that knowing, however small it may feel right now, is what separates those who turn the game from those who watch others turn it. What was explored today is not superficial motivation disguised as football. It is a profound understanding of how the principles that produce champions on the field are the same ones that produce real prosperity off it. You learned about the internal scoreboard no one sees, but that determines everything. You understood why champions play for the score that does not yet exist. You saw the difference between playing to not lose and playing to win. You discovered the power of the conscious halftime. You understood how the pressure of the penalty reveals and trains the internal state. You understood that championships are won by those who lose games without losing the vision. You saw how the crowd around you amplifies or destroys your frequency, and you learned that invisible training is what produces visible results. The question that remains is not, how do I improve my financial game? The question that transforms is, what kind of player do I choose to be from today? Because players are formed in the choices they make. When the score is unfavorable, when the crowd is silent, when no one is watching, it is in those moments that the champion is revealed, not in the moment of the trophy, but in the moment they decide to keep playing when everything suggested they stop. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that the game is not over yet, and that the score can still change, because sometimes the greatest turnaround begins when someone believes in you before you believe in yourself. If this content touched something in you, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and continue this journey with Kai and Lyra, because in our next video we are going to reveal something that will completely challenge everything you believe about money and scarcity. Why giving away your last dollar might be the most powerful financial move you will ever make. See you there.